Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie for those of you who are new, and for those of you who are not new, you're still getting Katie. It's still the same name. We should all realize that by now. So, in today's video, it's been a long time coming, and I've been watching a lot of Taylor Swift live streams right now, so if there's a lot of Taylor Swift lyrics in here, I am sorry, but I am living vicariously and watching Taylor Swift. It's fine. Anyway, this video is a long time coming. So, the last time I did a recent reads was back in the end of March, I do believe. So I have April, May, June, and I guess I'll just do all the books I read up to this point. So this is going to be short and sweet.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
To the point what these books are about, because there are 16 that I have to talk about. And we all know I'm long-winded, but we are not going to do that today. I'm going to try to do these synopses so very short and tell you if I liked it and if I didn't like it and what I rated it. That's what we're doing. It's going to be short and sweet. It has to be. Because can you imagine, I don't know, if this video is long, I am sorry. I don't know how long it is yet. So, okay. So if you're new to my channel and you don't know how I do these things, I work from the furthest, I work chronological order basically. So I'll start with the most back. I can never explain myself when I'm saying this, but you know, we're going to start back in April and work our way up to the last book that I read. I tell you the book, if I liked it, the synopsis, and the rating. Okay, so we're just going to get into it. Most of these books I don't own physically because apparently this year is the year of Kindle. I don't know. I have all these physical books and I'm not reading them. Okay, so, but before we get started, I wanted to show you this. I got this in the mail today and I'm not sponsored. I bought it with my own money, but I love it. Okay, so this thing right here, it's a little pillow to sit in your lap. Okay, you can't see it, but it's in my lap. So like when I want to read, you just put your book right there. But it's just so cute. It's got the bows. I don't know. I'm into like, what is that? It's like, this is an aesthetic, coquette, something. But I'm into it right now. And then I got the little bookcase that matches. So I got this from Bookbo on Instagram, so I will link it down below if you're interested. She has a whole bunch of different like prints and stuff, but her stuff is always so good. Okay, go check it out if you haven't. It's not sponsored. I paid for these. Actually, I pre-ordered these. That's how much I liked them. But I wanted to. Oh, I'm going to use this. Brilliant. I'm going to use this for my stand for my iPad because yeah, I don't have one. Okay, so the books. We're going to start back in, when did I read this? April, beginning of April. Okay, I'm going to scooch over so you can see the lovely book itself. Okay, so What I Should Have Said by Max Monroe. This is the first time I've ever read Max Monroe. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was really good, but it's really sad. Okay, it's really sad. And I talked about this in my previous video. They do not give trigger warnings at the beginning of the book for something that happens in this book. So, just be forewarned, there is a trigger warning. It's not really a spoiler, but it kind of is, and I don't know if I should say it, so I'll put it in the description. I always put the triggers in descriptions because sometimes I feel like they can be spoilery, so if you have triggers, always check my description. Okay, so basically in this book, and don't be expecting me to remember everyone's name because there's no way. So in this book, we're following, I know her name is Nora, and he is Bennett, so I do know that. Nora is set to get married, and she ends up getting a letter on her wedding day stating some things that makes her not want to marry her fiance. So she runs to Vermont to where her estranged sister is, and that's where she meets Bennett, or Ben. And on the way there, she is dropped off by the bus, and she is walking into town. It's still a ways away, and she comes across Bennett in his truck. He gives her a ride, but she is a pain in the butt because he is a grump. He is grumpy, she is sunshine, and they do not get along very well at first, and then eventually they have to get along because they end up working together, and he is a single father who has a terminally ill daughter. So I kind of just gave you the trigger. There you go. But it's heavily involved in the book with his daughter. So just know if childhood illness, chronically ill, terminally ill is a trigger, it's in that. But I enjoyed it. Did I cry like a baby? I did. It was an ugly cry. But it was cathartic at the same time, you know? Like sometimes I just love a book that makes me cry. So yeah, don't let the cover fool you. This book is sad, okay? But it was still good. But I just wish they would have put the triggers at the beginning, because I do think that people reading this, not thinking there's any triggers, that scene is sad. But yeah, still gave it 4 stars. Will I read any more from them? Sure. I like the writing. It was really good. So good start to the month of April. And then from there, I have Where We Started by Ashley Munoz. I actually have this book. I just bought it. Well, I didn't buy it. It came in the mail. It came in the mail, and I have it now, so I shall hold it up for you guys. So this was Paige and I's April book club pick. This is book 1 in the Stone Riders Virginia Motorcycle Club series. So in this book, we're following our hero and heroine. Again, names are mistaking me. And they are childhood lovers. Like, they meet when they're 9 and 10, I think. And her dad is the president of the motorcycle club, and she just kind of hates that. So she runs away a lot to the neighbor's treehouse, which is the hero. And he ends up like putting like a little like a little sleeping bag in there for her, and they share stories. So they grow up just like really fond of each other. And then when they're teenagers, you know, they end up dating. And then something happens to where they break up, and she leaves town. And it's 7 years later, I do believe. And she's coming back into town because her father has passed away, and she has to deal with the funeral and the estate and everything like that. And lo and behold, guess who is now the motorcycle club president? That's right, her ex. And it was just one thing she never wanted him to be a part of or anything like that. But the big kicker is that her dad in the will left her the property of where like the motorcycle club headquarters is, and like in the letter he's like telling her to sell it. So of course they're not too happy about that. She's not happy that she has to be there and do this. He's not happy that she's here. But can they stay away from each other? No, they cannot. So it was good. I highly enjoyed this. I had not read a motorcycle club in a long time, so like this was just what I needed. Paige and I both loved it. I'm pretty sure we both gave it 5 stars. She has since like gone on with the series, but we all know me in series. I just can't. I can't do it. I feel like if I'm reading books in a series, I'm like, but I could be reading other books and start another series. I don't know what it is. It's a sickness. It's just what I do. But yes, highly enjoyed that one. Oh, okay. Next. Where is it? Do I still own it? It's over there. It's in my giveaway pile. Next book was The Pucking Round Number by C.R. Jane. Okay. This book is a dark hockey romance. And it's dark. Fully admit that it's dark. This just wasn't my cup of tea. There's just something about this book that I didn't love. It was fine, but I didn't love it. So in the beginning of this book, our hero accidentally texts our heroine because he thinks that he's texting the girl that his mom or dad wants him, I think it's his dad, that he wants him to set him up with for like a business deal, you know. Texts the wrong number, and it's our heroine, and they start talking back and forth. Well, he becomes just enamored. He becomes stalkerish, and he just weasels his way into her life to where he gets her fired. And then he's like, well, you can't live at your apartment, you come live with mine. It's a whole ordeal. And it was okay. Like, I don't know what it was that I didn't like it. But I ended up giving it, what did I give it? I gave it a 3. So like, it wasn't terrible. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, my 3s aren't terrible. Like, my 5s are like I will think about this book forever and ever. I would want to reread this book. 4 is a good, solid book, but I'm not going to want to reread it. And 3s are okay. Like, they're not bad. They just weren't for me. And I don't really do 2s and 1s, so like, you never have to worry about that. But I don't think I've ever read a 2 or a 1, honestly, yet. You know. But, so, yeah. Just bear in mind, a lot of people love this series, so it could just be me. I could just be the problem. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. The next book that I read is over here. I didn't get any of these books out, guys. I am so lazy. It's fine. It's Saturday. And it was Always Mine by Laura Pavlov. This is book 1 in the Honey Mountain series. I loved this book. I'm so excited I started this series. I've been putting it off forever. Don't know why. It's just who I am. So in this book, we are following cannot think of their names. The hero and heroine who have been best friends since they've been like in kindergarten. So this is definitely a friends to lovers book. And she is in a state, like she's in a place in her life where she just realizes like she's always been in relationships and she's never just had any fun of just like experimenting and doing all these things. So eventually him and her come up with a deal of like, hey, we can be friends with benefits, but like nothing more. I hate to tell you, and I hate to tell them, but there is something called science, okay? And there's something called neurons in your brain that fire when you are with someone and you're enjoying their company and you're doing things that elicit certain neuron responses. I'm getting really nerdy, but it is what it is. And that's why a lot of people who are fake, you know, or friends to lovers or friends with benefits or like fake dating, fake marriage, always end up getting feelings because you're engaging in activities that elicit those feelings. Just look, if you did not know, I'm a therapist and I just know it's science. But that's what happens in this book. And I loved the side characters in this book. So he's a firefighter and her dad is the chief of the fire station. So like the dad always brings over like the whole fire station for like dinners. So they're always there. She has 4 sisters, she has 4 sisters. There's 5 books, so 5 siblings. I loved it. What did I give it? I gave it a 4 stars, so it wasn't like top tier. I want to reread it, but it was solid. 4 stars. I just need to continue, and I haven't yet because Laura has so many books out. It's sad that I'm that far behind. Okay, next was a little novella that I read, and it was One Last Summer by Piper Rain. Piper Rain is an author duo, and they write contemporary romances under Piper Rain, and then they write dark romances under P. Rain. So this is actually a little short novella before their Plain Daisy Ranch series. And in this book, we are following, I want to say his name is Ben. Another Ben? It is Ben. And what's her name? I can't remember. It's not important. But we are following them the day before Ben leaves to go to college to play football. And she is staying behind. And you kind of get the setup of their love for each other and what they're both thinking about as he sets off to leave to go to college. And then in book 1, we get a time jump and he's coming back from being like a pro football player and they have broken up in college. And so I'll talk about that. I read that. We're not there yet. So I gave this one a 4 stars. I enjoyed it. And of course I did because I went on and read the other books in the series that's out so far. And then from there, I read Shattered Vows by P. Rain. Same author. This is their dark romance. This was book 2 in their Midnight Manor series. So there are 4 books going to be total in this series. There's 3 books out right now. The 4th comes out next month. And they are all Disney retellings. So book 1 was Beauty and the Beast. Book 2, this book is Rapunzel. Book 3 is Cinderella, and book 4 is Little Mermaid. So in this book, we are following our heroine who is about to get married. There's something about that, isn't there, always? And she gets kidnapped the day of her wedding by her ex, and who was the hero, because years ago they were together and she left him at the altar. They were meant to be married and she never showed up. She just kind of left, disappeared. So he's been trying to find her for the past 4 years, and he's found her. He's going to make her pay. So he takes her back to like the manor that him and all his brothers live in. And his plan is to make her fall in love with him so he can break her heart the same way she did his. Only it's not that simple. It's not that simple. You know what happens. I just went and explained the whole science behind it to people. I'm not just going to do it again. So this is dark. It's not like black dark. It's really not. He is a tortured hero. He's got some trauma in his past, and there's like a secret society in this book series where like they own like it's not like a sex club, but it kind of is, but it's in their home, like down in like their basement, where a whole bunch of like high profile people come and they can just like explore and just like do things that you can't do, so to speak, in the outside world. So that is like an underlying theme in all of these books. But I enjoyed it, gave it 4 stars, and I did continue on with the series And I'll talk about that again a little later. So after that, I went ahead and I read the technically first book in the Plain Daisy Ranch series by Piper Rain, which is the one I left behind. So, okay, first off, these covers of these books are so gorgeous. I love these books. I love these covers of these books. Okay, besides the point. That's besides the point. Okay, so we're back to Bennett and gosh darn it, what's her name? I don't know. It's not important. So we are 14 years later. He is retired from professional football. He is coming home to work on his dad's ranch, like the family ranch. And our heroine has a 14-year-old son. It's not his son, if you're wondering. It's someone else's son. And when he's back home, he doesn't really know what he's going to do with his life. But all he knows is that he is still in love with the heroine. And she loves him, but there's just too much stuff. There's stuff that we need to process and go through. Well, he ends up becoming the coach for the football team at school because the coach has a heart attack. And he's like, hey, do me a solid. I helped you become famous. Can you help teach or help coach the team? And he was like, sure. And her son just happens to be on the football team. So there's some close proximity there. And it's just them kind of reuniting and talking about what happened and if there can be a future between the two of them. I highly enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. It hit the spot. I liked it. And I went on. So just so you know, you're gonna hear about book 2 later. But yeah, I love their contemporary romances. I think they're really good, and the spice, always good. So if you're looking for like a new author that you haven't heard of yet, give Piper Rain a chance. From there, I read Fragile Sanctuary by Catherine Cowles. This is book 1 in the Sparrow Falls, her new series. This is a romantic suspense, and I loved this book. This was my first Catherine Cowles. It won't be my last, but I loved this book. I had never really read like a romantic suspense before this. I have read like thrillers, and I've read romances, and I've read thrillers with romance aspects, but I had never read romantic suspense. I'm a changed woman. It is what it is. So in this book, we were following the heroine who, when she's younger, experiences a tragedy to where there's a fire in her home and she's the only one that escapes. Her sister and her parents, all of them, do not make it. So she ends up moving in with her best friend and her mother and like the foster children that the mother takes in. And so that's where we're getting like the brother's best friend trope in this. So she grows up and she buys the house that the fire was in and she wants to redo it. And her foster brother, it's her brother, she just calls it her brother, has a construction company, and he's got a whole bunch of guys on the team, and that's where she meets the hero. I'm pretty sure his name's Anson. I can remember his name, but I can't remember hers. Anson is a former FBI profiler, and he's got trauma in his past, so he's very standoffish, very grumpy, very doesn't want to connect with people. But there's something about the heroine. There's something about the heroine that just keeps bringing him back. And I don't know what was in this book. I have heard so many booktubers talk about this book and like what she put in this book that just made everyone fall in love with it compared to her other ones. So I'm a little scared to read the other ones, but I'm still going to do it. Just when is the ultimate question. Oh, and if I didn't say, I gave it 5 stars. Duh, I loved this book. It was so good. Next, I read A Flicker in the Dark, which was Paige and I's May pick. Was it May or June? I can't remember. For our book club, this is a thriller. And in this book, we were following our heroine who, when she was younger, her father is arrested for a series of killings that happened in their small town in Louisiana. And so he's been in jail for the past 20 years, and she is now in her 30s and is a therapist. And yeah, I don't know. I like reading books about therapists. It's just a thing. And similar killings start happening around her town and around people that she knows or is associated with. So we're trying to figure out, is it her dad? Was her dad really involved? Is it a copycat? Like, is the right killer even there? So that's the premise of the story. I liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars. I did give it 4 stars. This is actually a debut from the author, which is Stacey Willingham. It was a good, like, the writing was great. Like, the twist was okay. I kind of figured it out. But I just don't know if that's because like I'm just reading so many thrillers that it's just hard to like wow me, or if it's just because this one was just okay. But I still enjoyed it, so I gave it 4 stars. From there, I read Rustic Hearts by Amber Kelly. This is book 1 in Poplar Fall series. So in this book, we are following the heroine who, when she's like 12 years old, was it 12 years old? I feel like it's 12. Her mom's like, hey, we gotta go. We're leaving. We're leaving town. Your dad's no good. We're leaving town. So they go and they move to New York because her mom's always had this like bright idea of becoming like this famous actress, and she has to move to New York to do that. And in the present time, our heroine gets a phone call or a letter, I can't quite remember, from her family back in Poplar Falls that her grandma passed away. Her grandma or her aunt. But she has to go back for the funeral. So she ends up going back. And when she's there, she is going to stay in the house with like her dad that, of course, she has a strange relationship with, all the family members that live there, including her. So her dad got remarried, and then the wife brought in her niece and nephew. So that's where the hero comes into place. They are not related. I just have to point that out. So he does not like her because he sees her as the city girl, someone who never came and visited her dad, just kind of like stuck up. And like she sees him as the reason why her dad like wasn't a part of the family. And like he was like her dad replaced her with the 2 kids. So there's a bit of animosity between the two, but I still highly enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It's book 1 in the series, and I loved all the side characters, so I do need to continue on with that. Again, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I liked it. It's small town, you know, it was nice. I'm glad I read it. Okay, from there, I read Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder. This is book 1 in the Bourbon Boys. Is it Fox? Yeah, Fox Bourbon Boys. Okay, so in this book, we are following the hero named Grant. I remember his name too. Like, there's something about the heroes. Why can't I remember them? And he, at the beginning of this book, he is a detective. And they're trying to hunt down this, I don't know if they're hunting the serial killer at this point, but they're looking for, there's something going down in town. Okay? And he is secretly dating, like the chief's daughter, who's a cop. Well, tragedy strikes that night, and they lose the daughter, and so he decides he does not want to be a detective anymore. He's like, I want to retire, and he goes to work for the family distillery. A couple years later, this new girl moves into town. She doesn't really move into town on like she wants to, but she is in the witness protection program. So she comes to his brother's house, the detective that she's with, or the FBI agent that knows the brother, and she's like, hey, I need you to keep her here. She's kind of off the books, so no one can really know she's here. You can't tell anybody. So the only 2 people that know that she's a witness protection is the brother and the grandfather. Yeah, because the dad is gone, I'm pretty sure. So they live on like, so the distillery is like on like this big land, and then like each brother has their own like house. So she ends up moving into a spare house that they have, which is like right across from Grant. So Grant sees her. He's intrigued, but he's also like, his old police ways, they're tingling. He's like, something's not right with her, but like he's intrigued at the same time because she is just like, she's a spitfire. She tells you like it is. There's no holds back. Like she is like bathing in like a trough outside with pizza and wine, and he's just like, what is this girl? But I loved this book. The cover is so gorgeous. Like this cover, oh my gosh, I love it. Also, if you're into animals, he's got a dog named Julep, who was like the canine at the police station, and she's her own little hero in this. Like she does what she needs to do. There is some triggers in this book. So there is talk of a serial killer and a little bit of like what happens with the serial killer. So just kind of be warned about that if that is any issues for you. But I gave it 5 stars if I didn't say, because it was so good. Okay. Next, I read The Birthday List, which is book 1 in the Mason Jar duet by Devney Perry. I loved this book. It was my first Devney Perry, and I It was so good. So in this book we are following, I want to say Poppy. I think it's Poppy, but could it be Piper? It's a P name, okay? And at the beginning of the book, she is supposed to be celebrating with her husband, but he unfortunately passes away. He is murdered when he goes out to get some supplies for the party, and a police officer comes to her house to let her know. And then we go 5 years later, and she is working on her husband's birthday list. He had compiled a list of things he wanted to do before each birthday. So some of them was like buy her a restaurant, which at the beginning of the book, that's what she's doing. She's like getting ready for her opening day. Another is go to karate class, play the ukulele, skydive, do a whole bunch of stuff. So as each chapter is her doing something off the list. So in the second chapter, she's going to the karate class, and she just happens to see our hero named Cole. And Cole was the police officer from the beginning of the book who came to her house to let her know what happened to her husband. And he is just infatuated with her. He's been kind of thinking about her the past 5 years. And when he finds out that she's doing this list, he is all in. He is in like Flynn. Oh, if you want a cinnamon roll hero, it's Cole. He does everything for her to make sure that this list is complete. He is so patient with her because he knows that she's trying to grieve as well. And he does not pressure her. He does not push her. It was so... I loved this book. Okay? I loved it. And then from there, I went ahead and I read the second book in the series, which was Letters to Molly. So in this book, we were following Finn and Molly. Finn is the heroine's, from the first book, brother. And we kind of get an idea of why Finn and Molly are no longer together. They were married. But in the first book, they were just getting divorced. And in the second book, we are now following their story. And it's a second chance romance to where they both want to try again, but they both don't know if it's possible. So we're getting like their story with their kids, and we're still getting like side characters from the first book as well. But the reason this is called Letters to Molly is because on their first date, she told him that she's very old-fashioned and she would just love for a man to write her letters. So from that day, he started writing her letters. Like he wrote her letters the day that he was going to propose, the day they got married, the day that something happened to where they ended up getting divorced, and all this stuff. All the stuff he couldn't say to her when they were together. And then they start showing up at her door, well, in her mailbox. And he's like, I'm not sending you the letters. So we're also trying to figure out who sent the letters. So it was just cute. I liked it. Wasn't my favorite, no. But I still gave it, what did I give it? I gave it 5 stars. But I think I'm going to trigger it down to 4. It was still good, but it's not like one that I was going to reread, you know? Still enjoyed it. Okay, from there, we've got 3 more to talk about. Okay, I read Midnight Whispers by P. Rain, which is book 3 in their Midnight Manor series. So this one is the Cinderella retelling. Okay, so in this book, we are following Nero, who is engaged to a girl at the beginning of the book that I cannot remember her name. But at this ball, it's a masked ball. And when he's there, he meets this other woman. He kind of saves her from this guy who's trying to hit on her, and she has no intention of being with him. And they go and dance, and he can't tell who it is because she's got the mask. And they just they dance, and then she's gone. You know, kind of like Cinderella, you know. And what he doesn't know is that that was actually the stepsister of his fiance. So, you know, he met Cinderella. He's currently with the stepsister. And then his fairy godmother decides to step in and send a picture of his fiance cheating on him. So he decides to break it off. One night he decides to drown his sorrows, and he goes to the local strip club, and that's where he sees this beautiful blonde dancing. He becomes enamored with her. He becomes kind of obsessed. He becomes a little stalkerish, which is not the first time in his life that he's done this. So his brothers are a little concerned. They're like, hey, are you doing this again? He's like, no, I'm fine. I got it under control. Something happens to where Cinder, which is the stripper name, gets kicked out of her home by the stepmother and stepsisters. So he's like, hey, why don't you come live in my manor? I know you don't know me very well, but you can come live in my house until you get back on your feet. So she does, and that's kind of where like their romance kind of begins. It was, did I like it as much as the second book? It was okay. This wasn't my favorite in the series, but Cinderella's not my favorite princess either, so like that makes sense. But what did I give it? I gave it a 3. Okay, so it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like on the same level for me as the second book. Okay, after that, I then went back to Piper Rain, and I read book 2 in the Plain Daisy Ranch series. This was the one I stood beside, and in this book, we were following Jude and Sadie. Jude is Bennett's older brother, so he's the oldest of the 3 brothers, and he's always the one who has, you know, had to have responsibility. He's the one that the fathers always counted on. He lost his mother when he was about 6 years old. So his father was always kind of like, okay, you got to be the big brother. You got to be the one to take care of the family. You got to do this. So he is now like the head of like the ranch. He kind of like is in charge of that. And then he has a best friend named Sadie. So this is definitely a childhood friends, 2 lovers romance. And Sadie's dad owns another farm down the road. Her father unexpectedly passes away and leaves the farm to the family, of course, but he has been like backed up on mortgage for more than a year. So the bank gives her like 2 months to pay the mortgage of a year. And she's like, what am I going to do? So she goes and tries to get a loan, and they're like, there's no way. You have nothing up for collateral. There's not, we can't do anything. And the bank teller is like, but you know what you could do? We all know that like you and Jude are best friends, and you know, Jude has collateral. If you wanted to marry Jude, you know, it's possible. So that's what happens. That is what happens. Jude's like, okay, I will help you do it. We can do this. It'll be like a fake marriage. But really, is it fake when they both love each other? They've just been too scared to tell the other person. No, it's not fake. And it is not fake after a while. It's not. But stupid Jude gets in his head in this book, and he is so fully believes that he is not enough for her that he just, oh my gosh. That's the only thing about this book is like, if you guys just want to communicate, you guys are best friends, you've been best friends since you've been like 6. Can you just communicate with each other? Like, believe her when she says that you're enough. Like, that's the only qualm about this book. Other than that, I really enjoyed this book. Did I give it 5 stars? I did not. I gave it 4. I did give it 4. There was something about the first book that I don't know if it was like the hype of a new book. I was like, yeah, 5 stars for, you know, a new series. But I still really enjoyed this book, and I cannot wait for the 3rd book. And plus the cover. The covers get me. Okay, the last book that I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about this book. I don't want to talk about this book. Okay, so I read Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. I don't want to talk about this book. Okay, this book is so many people's hyped books. It's so good. It's so good. It was just okay. It was just okay. I'm so mad. I wanted to love this book. So many people's like, it's so good. And I'm like, I read it and I'm like, it's okay. Oh, darn. I hate this. Okay. So this book, we are following Rowan. I couldn't remember. We're following Rowan and Sloane, okay? They are just, you know, they're 2 people. They're 2 regular people, except for the fact that they are also 2 serial killers. Yes. They both go after bad men. They both have had bad things happen in their life that kind of led them to doing this. So at the beginning of the book, they meet when Sloane is stuck in a cage with her most recent conquest. He comes in, kind of rescues her, gets her out of the cage, and they go out for lunch, and they both realize, oh my gosh, you're the famous so-and-so, and you're the famous so-and-so. They have names. And they're like, hey, why don't we play a game? Because we're both doing this for the same reasons. So every year, they get sent a name of a person or description of a person, and they have to go find this person and them. And whoever does it first wins. So they do this over like 4 years. And as the span of the 4 years is going, they're falling for each other. And it was fine. It was just fine. Like, if you, like, okay. So here's if you don't, there is a whole page of triggers. And I advise you look them up. Did any of this, like, disgust me? No. I don't know what that says about me. But like, it was unsettling, but I wasn't like, ooh, I can't read about that. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, the ice cream scene. And I was like, okay. I don't know what it is about me. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But it didn't steer me away from ice cream. Like, I still eat it, you know? So yeah, it was fine. It was 3 stars. Do I own the second book? Yeah. Am I going to read that one? Yeah. But I've heard people not like the second one as much as the first one, so maybe I'll be the opposite and actually like the second one and not. I don't know. I'm sad that I didn't love this book. I gave it 3 stars. I'm sad. I'm sad because I wanted to love it, but this is why I don't read hype books, because I get disappointed. But that's it. Those are the 16 books. I have been here for a long time. A long time. I don't even know how long. I can't see the time because I'm not having my glasses on. But if you're still here, thank you so much for watching. Down below in the comments, please let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them, or if you just want to leave me an emoji, leave me a blackbird emoji or like a butcher. Is there a knife emoji? Probably not. That would be a little vicious. Leave me a bird emoji for blackbird, for butcher and blackbird. We can do that. But if you're new and enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you're new, I would love for you guys to stick around. My social media is linked down below as always, my Goodreads and my Instagram if you want to stay more up to date and day to day with what I am reading. But I hope you all are having a great day or evening, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.